thoughts and it will all go away. Tuesday, October 13th, Oaks Fest, but right now we want to open up the phone lines. 502-267-2422. Workers' comp issue. You heard Apex Physical Therapy talk about aches and pains, but what if you're out of work? What about Social Security disability? Have you been in an accident? Call us up right now because Karl Truman is here, our extraordinary attorney here. And we were talking just before we came on about a tasing. You've heard of people get tased. You know, they have to bring someone down, but someone got a nice sizable little reward for, I guess, a tasing that shouldn't have happened.
Well, although I never like to call any type of settlement or
a reward,
trial a reward or
they were dealt with. They were
winnings like being lottery.
Right.
But this is a case that it's been on the national news. It's out of Texas. It's not a local case. That a 72-year-old woman was pulled over by a sheriff's deputy. And she was very belligerent. I mean, they have the police police cam on there, and she was very belligerent about what happened, about being pulled over. I am a plaintiff attorney, meaning that I always represent the injured person, the one making the claim. But I got to tell you, I don't know why this county settled with her. It was on the national news this morning. I just saw it where she made a claim against the county for being tased, but after seeing that video, I just think the county was wrong in settling with her. I mean,
well, let's also say this. Karl has a military background, and ever since I've known him, he's always been extremely pro law enforcement and supportive of law enforcement and in this community, just in many areas. But I remember seeing that video. It was the officer got out and said, "Ma'am, get over, ma'am, get over." She was yelling, and he tased us.
Yeah, he actually pushed her to get away from the highway.
From the highway.
Not.
So, well, who knows? But hey, he tells it like it is. See?
Yeah, I mean, because we have to evaluate claims. I mean, if someone had called me with that case and said, "Well, I got tased," I mean, I would have never even taken that case.
Well, the publicity alone is worth the settling, I would assume.
But that's all I can figure is that maybe the county thought, look, we just need to get this to rest. We just need to get over it and get it out of the way. But they did pay her a sizable settlement, which I was shocked.
Taking your phone calls, 502-267-2422. Charles from Lebanon, good morning. You have a question for Karl Truman, our attorney.
Yes, my son about a year ago got his hand cut off at work, and the machine didn't have no safety guards, nothing on it. They took the safety guards off, and we got a lawyer, and we wanted two different cases, one against workers' comp and one against the factory, and he combined them both. We're not satisfied with the lawyer. Can we fire the lawyer and get another one?
Well, that's not necessarily an easy question. I mean, yes, you can any time, but. It sounded like you said that the case was already resolved, or that the cases are finished or still pending.
They're pending. But they offered him $100 and some thousand. It ain't what we wanted. We wanted two different cases because the company was at fault. They didn't have no guards on the machine.
Right.
As soon as this happened, they cut the machine off and put safety guards on it, and everything where it couldn't happen again.
Well, and of course, and I can't get in the middle of trying to explain what was reasonable, what wasn't, but. I do see I talk to a lot of people in workers' compensation settings, and workers' comp is never going to adequately compensate you. Now, and again, I have to speak in generalities. I can't talk about your case because I don't know the facts of your case. But oftentimes, I mean, if a company takes off a guard of a machine, and I talk to clients every day like this too, that it is very angry and very upsetting, but unfortunately, under the workers' comp laws, you cannot sue the company for taking the guard off the machine. The law, the only recovery, even if the company just blatantly does something wrong like that, your only recovery against the company, against the employer, is workers' compensation. And unfortunately, workers' compensation is never going to pay enough to adequately compensate someone. Now, sometimes what we look at is if there is a products liability claim, we look at that a lot to see, well, could there be what's called a third-party claim against someone who made the machine? So if the machine was defective, possibly you could make a claim against who made the machine. But if the machine was okay, installed in the factory, and the company just thinks, well, I'm going to take this guard off because it's going to increase production, make people move faster, you're probably at a dead end with that. I mean, workers' comp is going to be the only recovery.
It certainly seems as if you may want to continue some communication line with your existing attorney and see if there's more. Yeah.
And that's a good point. Talk to your attorney, ask him. Don't just, I know it's frustrating, but talk to your attorney, ask questions, sit down and meet with your attorney and say, well, I don't understand this, or why can't we do this? And talk to your attorney and try to find out some answers to your questions.
Thanks for your call so much, Charles. Kathy from White Mills. Kathy from White Mills is calling Karl Truman on the legal line this morning, and there's Karl's number there, 1-800-ACCIDENT. If you have a situation away from the station, he can't answer it. Good morning, Kathy. Good morning. You have a question for Karl Truman.
You know what, my question is, I have a niece who had an accident about a year ago, actually 3 years ago, who raced a motorcyclist. He got up, he went to the hospital and checked out, but everything seemed to be fine. Evidently, he went through with suing different insurance companies, and then today, on my niece's doorstep, a police officer shows up and wants to serve her with papers to be, that she's going to be sued. Well, she's in the Army, she's in Afghanistan right now, so what can I do to her?
Well, so the person that's in the Army is the one being sued. That's the way I understand it. Well, they may have, well, first of all, if she was the driver, I assume, is that correct that she's...
She has left us here, but apparently she's the one they're pointing the finger at.
Well, first of all, immediately you need to notify her insurance company and give them a copy of the papers. Because when you're sued, your insurance company will hire a lawyer to represent you. So the insurance company, you don't need to just go hire a lawyer. Your insurance company, when you're sued, they pay the lawyer, they pick the lawyer, they have their own attorneys that they work with, and they hire them. So by all means, immediately you need to deliver those suit papers to her insurance company, and they'll take care of responding to it. So they'll have a lawyer handle it and represent her. There may be some protections that she may have being overseas under what's called the Soldiers and Sailors Civil Relief Act, which does give some protections to service members overseas in civil litigation. But the first step is deliver those papers to her insurance agent, and they'll take it from there.
Karl Truman is here with us every week with the legal line. We appreciate you being with us. And one thing else you might do is call your local elected official, let them know about it, tell them she's over and serving in the Middle East. Even call Congressman John Yarmouth. And sometimes a little political pressure helps out too, especially since she's serving our country. And thank you for her service, Karl. Thank you for being here.